We got to address the suburban women problem because it's real.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rachel Vinman.
I'm Jasmine Clark.
I'm Amanda Weinstein.
And this is the Suburban Women Problem. Today, we are celebrating our 50th episode. And we're making it extra special because we will be joined for this whole episode by Michigan State Senator and superstar Mallory McMorrow. I should say, actually, like suburban woman hero Mallory McMorrow. Hi, Senator. Thank you for being here.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, we are so excited to have you. Last month, as you know, you went viral for a speech you made where you defended yourself from Republican allegations that because you were defending LGBTQ rights, you were a groomer and a pedophile. You personally. And they also said that by teaching our kids about American history, you wanted to make children feel guilty about slavery. So these are issues we talk about all the time here. So we knew right away we wanted to have you on the show. I think we've all seen your speech already, but we're going to play it now for anyone who hasn't had the chance to watch it or to hear it.
I am a straight, white, Christian, married, suburban mom who knows that the very notion that learning about slavery or redlining or systemic racism somehow means that children are being taught to feel bad or hate themselves because they are white is absolute nonsense. No child alive today is responsible for slavery. No one in this room is responsible for slavery. But each and every single one of us bears responsibility for writing the next chapter of history. Each and every single one of us decides what happens next and how we respond to history and the world around us. We are not responsible for the past. We also cannot change the past. We can't pretend that it didn't happen or deny people their very right to exist. I want every child in this state to feel seen, heard, and supported, not marginalized and targeted because they are not straight, white, and Christian. We cannot let hateful people tell you otherwise to scapegoat and deflect from the fact that they are not doing anything to fix the real issues that impact people's lives. And I know that hate will only win if people like me stand by and let it happen.
It was just absolutely perfect. You said all the right things.
With the right tone, and it was exactly when the nation needed to hear it, of like, someone has to address how ridiculous this is. And you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just say that as a state representative, I know what it feels like to have your constituent or a friend be like, oh my gosh, I just got this mailer about you, or I just got this email about you. Look at the things that they're saying about you, and not really knowing whether to like respond or just like let it roll off your back. And so I think that you masterfully handled that situation, and you're kind of my hero. Just watching you, I was like, okay, I can do this, and I don't have to just pretend like this horrible thing wasn't just said about me. I can fight back. So I just want to say thank you to you for, kind of empowering me.
Oh, that means so much. Thank you. It was so jarring and you hear this term groomer being thrown around, but the way the email went out, and it was actually my husband who sent me a screenshot of it. It was by name. It was me. It was Mallory McMorrow, D Snowflake, which isn't even doing the joke right. But that was, and called me a social media troll and said that, I'm upset that I can't groom and sexualize kindergartners and make 8-year-olds feel bad because they were the cause of slavery. I mean, it was just so hateful. And just digging into it for a second, it's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. By definition, it means somebody who is befriending a child for the purpose of molesting them. It's so disgusting. And I think part of the reason that I wanted to respond in the way that I did is we've seen this Republican Party, and I want to be intentional about this version because I represent a lot of Republicans. I represent Mitt Romney's hometown. So I want to be clear. It's not the people that I represent. It's this leadership has decided that you can say whatever you want about anybody else and there are no consequences. And the weird reason I wanted to respond the way I did is to show that there are consequences, because the reason they're doing this is they're winning. It's a winning strategy. And until more of us stand up, take our own identity back, but also say, you're not going to win if you do this to people. It's going to keep going.
I just want to cheer.
Love it.
It's everything you said. That's why this has, resonated with so many people. We have so many questions for you about your speech, and we got some great questions from our Facebook community sweep as well. So we're just really looking forward to getting into that. In your speech, you said that one of the first questions you had when you saw those horrible accusations was, why me? Why do you think? Why you? Why attack a white Christian suburban mom?
Well, that was, I really stewed on that for a whole day. I didn't respond the day that I saw the email. I wanted to sit with it. And I talked to friends in the LGBTQ community. I talked to friends who are Black who have already kind of gone through the CRT fear mongering and scare tactics and trying to figure out, why me? And then I realized, it was me because I was a warning shot to all of the other, frankly, suburban, white, comfortable moms, that if you dare to stand up with them, then you're not one of us, you're one of them. And it was immediately trying to say, she can't be, a mom who cares about parental rights, because otherwise she wouldn't stand with them. So that is, once I realized that was the attempt to dehumanize and marginalize me so that they could keep claiming to speak on behalf of all suburban white moms, I was a threat, because I broke that narrative that says that, all Christians believe that LGBTQ people are sinful and dirty and filthy and groomers, or that, if you teach accurate history and understand slavery and the impact of systemic racism today, that means you're making white kids feel bad because they're white. So that's what I really realized. And then it became, instead of me feeling horrific, because I felt horrific the day that I got the email, then it was empowering, because then it was, oh, you're a threat. And that's when it's, okay, let's go, like, suit up. We're going to take this on.
I understand that feeling of, it's just like a gut punch. I mean, I remember reading some things about my husband before we could ever speak out and say anything back, because he was an active duty military officer. But I remember that feeling. And I also know, like, how empowering it is to speak out now and to hit back at the allegations. Just getting back to what you said, like, it was, you addressed everything, I think, so well. It's such a blueprint for suburban women and men from which to have these discussions, because you're right.
You have used this as a jumping off point to empower other suburban white Christian moms. Why? Why did you, because I've heard you specifically say this group, like, it is time to stand up. Why this group?
The data shows, we know this, Donald Trump was elected president because of suburban white women. And we have to take responsibility for that. And we've seen how powerful it is when we organize and mobilize. We saw this in 2018. I got elected because of suburban women who were pissed off and angry and didn't sit on the sidelines anymore and said, let's start organizing. Let's form indivisible groups. Let's form Democratic clubs. All of these women came out of the woodwork and are a force of nature. And realizing that, we cannot constantly expect that the people who are on the receiving end of the attacks, particularly minority groups, because by definition, there are fewer people in minority groups, to stand up and defend themselves without us. You need the rest of us to stand up and fight back. And the reason that I wanted to address that group specifically, people who look like me, who are comfortable, who are generally fine, is that we're all really tired. I think that we have to acknowledge that moms in particular are really burned out after the past few years. I had a baby during COVID. Like, I get it, trying to find childcare and navigate having a full-time job and breastfeeding in the middle of all of this has been exhausting. But my hope was to reignite some of that fire and passion that we all found in 2017 and 2018 to say, we have to do it again. You know, it isn't just a one and done.
Right.
Because just because Donald Trump is not in that office anymore doesn't mean that that culture is gone. It's clearly not. You know, it unleashed the acceptance of hate and anger and fear mongering that is now being weaponized again because we got comfortable. So that was really my focus. And I've talked to a lot of people who said, you know, why are you just talking to suburban white women? I'm like, because it's our responsibility. We have to stand up and take the hits. We can't constantly expect, especially LGBTQ kids, children, to stand up and just ask to be seen as people. They need us. They need other moms to get in the game, get a little bit uncomfortable, and fight back.
Love that. Mama bear, time to mama bear.
Fight like a mom.
So Mallory, I know from just like going to lots of different meetings and talking to consultants and organizations that the number one rule that they tell us is do not repeat the attack. But you did it. You intentionally repeated what the senator said. Like you said it in your speech out loud. So I just want to know why. I'm just trying to figure out like how you got the courage to basically go against the grain.
That is always the tactic, and I know you know this, but it's like, don't say your opponent's name, don't give it credit, don't give it air. And I've thought about that a lot as we've seen these attacks get levied. But let's be real. So the accusation of grooming and pedophilia, that comes from QAnon. That comes from the darkest corners of the internet. And this is the same conspiracy that says that, you know, the election was stolen from Donald Trump and all of these sorts of things, and that the government is actually run by a Satanist cabal of pedophiles. And when that goes too far, this is why a gunman opened fire on a pizza place in DC, thinking that there were children trapped in the basement that didn't even exist. So it's really dangerous if we let this specific attack go unchecked. And now it's not in the darkest corners of the internet. It's in the mainstream. It is being used by one of our major political parties publicly to target kids and their parents. One of my constituents is the mother of a trans daughter. So she and I have talked, you know, a lot over the past few years about the fact that her school and their community and the sports team, everybody's been so supportive. So why are these attacks happening? And that's really where I drew the line. Was this wasn't just an attack on me. This is an attack that they're using against me, that they're also using against a lot of other people. And it's causing real damage. So I don't think we can pretend like it doesn't exist anymore. I don't think we can follow the advice that, oh, if you just don't talk about it, it will go away. Clearly, it's not going away.
Right. It's getting worse.
It's building. It's becoming more powerful. In the same week that this email went out about me, Tom Barrett, who's running for Congress against Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, sent out a text message that said, confirmed, your child's gender reassignment surgery has been scheduled. Click here. And the click was to his fundraising page. It is just direct fear mongering, and it's disgusting, and it's going to continue going. So that's really why I decided. I wrote a lot of things down that were hitting directly back at the attack against me, talking about, you know, hypocrisy and here's what people in your party have done. And I erased all of that because that doesn't take it out of the Republican versus Democratic mudslinging that I think is why people disconnect from politics in the first place. So it was hitting back, calling it what it was, but trying to take it broader than just slapping back, which isn't going to get us anywhere.
I love that you just told a real story of a real community who has supported this trans kid, right? We hear so much from a very vocal minority that has no experience, never met with a trans kid, has no idea what's going on, doesn't even know if their own kid is really affected by this or not. But we don't hear enough of those stories, right? We see a lot of times, I feel the media shines a light on this person is complaining about trans kids in sports. I haven't really heard a story of this community has embraced this trans kid in sports and said, you know, we are going to support them because they are a kid in our community. And that is an important story that needs to be told, and more of and I think it goes with like what you're saying, we need to shine a light on this, right? And we need to tell our side and we need to address it. We can't just like ignore it and pretend it's going to go away.
Well, absolutely. And I think it is reclaiming, and this is what I've been talking about a lot, like we love our families and our communities and our kids. And, you know, I want my kid to grow up feeling like she can be whoever she's going to become. And I want her to meet people who are different than her. And that is, you know, part of why I know my parents signed me up for sports, right? Is like to learn how to compete and how to win and how to lose. The idea that somehow a fifth grader who wants to play soccer with her friends is the reason why, you know, you're having trouble paying for your healthcare or their teachers are leaving. Like that, I really wanted to make that connection too, because here in Michigan, we already have a process with the High School Athletic Association for if there is a child who wants to play on a sports team that matches their gender identity, there's a process. You apply for a waiver, the association has to approve it, the school has to approve it, the team has to approve it, everybody's involved, and it works. There have been a total of 9 kids over the past 5 years who have used this process. That's less than 2 per year. And all of this vitriol targeted on 2 kids, like not Olympians, kids who want to kick a ball with their friends is asinine to me.
Yeah. I compare that to the number in foster care, the number that are in poverty, the number that don't have health care. Come on.
Right. Stop attacking kids.
Why are we not telling these stories? Because this is a compelling story. I mean, this is something we try to do on the podcast. We've talked to moms of trans children, but I think it's better to say, hey, we're making it work. It's not that scary. It's not that hard. If you can just do this and you can see, like, here's our family. We're normal people. I worked on the gubernatorial campaign or helped Terry McAuliffe's campaign. And when I talked to them about the CRT issue, like literally the comms person for the campaign said, oh, we're not going to talk about CRT because it's not a thing. I just have to ask, when you spoke with President Biden, did you suggest that maybe we hit back a little bit? Or do you guys discuss that part at all?
Look, I'm a state senator in Michigan who ran for office for the first time in 2018.
No.
Don't
say that. I get it. But don't. Look, I mean, like, don't minimize that.
More legislation is on the state and local level than the federal level. So, boom.
That's true.
Very true.
But also, how many views has your? I didn't even look.
Oh, it's over 15 million now. It's
right. Okay. You know why?
Wow.
Because it resonates with people, Senator. Because people. So don't think just because you're new. Because actually, we are in unprecedented times, and we always say this. But it's time to write a new game plan because the one we had isn't working. We will stay true to ourselves. We're not gonna go do crazy things and and call people groomers or whatever. We're not gonna do what they do. But it does mean we need a little bit of a new approach, and I'm okay with you being in charge of that.
Second,
I'll help in whatever way I can.
Yeah. Speaking of, Mallory, what does it feel like to see your message go viral on Twitter? And just like, how has that like changed your life or your work? Like millions of people across the country know me. They're talking about me. They're bringing me on their podcast. The president's calling me.
I mean, it's weird. It's certainly not what I thought 2 weeks ago my life was going to be like. But I have been... Our office has received some national attention before, and not in a good way. So Michigan has been the focus of relitigating the 2020 election. Mike Lindell apparently had an event where he said that Oakland County, Michigan was one of the places where he had quote unquote evidence. I'm using air quotes, but I'm going to say it because I know this is a podcast, that computers in China changed votes in Oakland County, Michigan. So that's where I serve. So we have gotten phone calls, emails from all over the world, saying that we are responsible for stealing the election. So my staff is used to a little bit of negative attention. And I kind of warned them once we saw this was taking off. I was like, be prepared for backlash. We're going to be okay. Like, we'll get together and have wine and we'll decompress, but we're going to be okay. It has not gone that way at all. So we have to clear out our voicemail inbox about every 30 minutes. My P.O. box, I've stopped by every day myself. It is stuffed to the gills with people handwriting stories, letters, of all backgrounds. I got one who was like, I am a Black grandmother from Texas. I'm 98 years old, and like, you whoop their ass.
Yes.
was one of the messages.
I love
I
it.
get, people from the LGBTQ community and parents saying, that this moment is reminiscent of the first kind of groomer scare and the quote unquote Save the Children campaign decades ago. And it feels like we're going back there again and saying thank you. It's been overwhelmingly positive. So I have never been more exhausted. My team around me is amazing. My husband is my biggest supporter. So if you're on Twitter, you'll always see Ray Wirt like under a tweet about me, like dropping a donation link.
I did notice. I was like, what a good husband, Ray. I need to take some tips from Ray.
He is my biggest partner and supporter, and isn't somebody, it's the counter to the Tucker Carlson, whatever his testosterone special is about, like men not being manly enough. I'm like, no, men can be supportive and love their families and be strong and love strong women, and like, let's get rid of this nonsense. Enough.
Yes, amen.
I kind of want to switch gears a little bit because I love the way you ended your speech, where you said, we will not let hate win. And I always like to end my speeches with something like a take-home message. And I think that is an amazing take-home message. What do you envision we can do together to defeat hate? Because it feels like this beast and with tentacles that's just touching everything. How do we defeat hate?
We have to get involved in politics. I know too many women who are just like, ooh, it's too nasty. I don't want to get it. It's just like, I don't like politics, right? But, and Jasmine, this is where decisions are made. This is where laws are written. This is all of these policies that impact everybody. This is what happens. So we all have to get comfortable with the fact that we're getting into it. The beautiful thing about our country's system of government is that it is run by the people. It's for the people, by the people. We are the people. So if we don't get involved, that means we are letting somebody else make the decisions for us. And they tend to be old white men. And like, it's not going great. I think that is my hope. And I've had multiple events in my district since then and talked to women. And so it's like, find a campaign to volunteer on, make sure everybody is registered to vote, make sure they vote in the primaries and the generals, make sure one of the things that I tweeted on Twitter, do you know everybody who represents you at every level, not just in Congress, all the way down. Find out who they are, find out what they support. And if you don't like it, let them know, write them an email. Call them. We have to get involved in this and put pressure on the people who represent us to actually represent us. And that's how, hate doesn't win. And I said win intentionally because this is politics. It is, unfortunately, for better or worse, a numbers game. We need more people to vote with us than vote with them. So let's make sure that happens.
And they're doing more to actually affect your life at the state and local level than at the federal level. So it is really important. But also, politics can be more fun. Like women, if you can throw a party, a lot of politics is actually like parties where you drink wine and you meet people and you talk and you fundraise. Like women, like you can do it. I know you can, and it'll be more fun than you think.
And the first time I ran for office, I'd never run for office before. And I knocked on thousands of doors. I met people I would never have met otherwise. People invited me in for dinner. They gave me snacks. It was like adult trick-or-treating. Like, it can be fun. You meet so many dogs.
I like that explanation.
So many dogs if you love dogs. Like, get involved. Join the campaign.
So I have a question. So you talked a lot about your faith and what your faith means to you. Democrats have a hard time messaging to people of faith. How do Dems flip this script? How do we message to people of faith to get on board with our message?
Well, I think it's an overused word, so I don't love using it, but it's true. Be authentic. So a lot of people have said, your speech is a template, and it's not if it's not your story, right? Like, this was very core to me and who I am. And I'll be honest, I have been kind of reluctant to talk about my own upbringing because, again, I feel like our Republican colleagues have really dominated the idea of what faith means in public office. When I fill out an endorsement questionnaire, it's usually one line. It's like religion blank. And sometimes I don't even fill it out because I'm like, well, my relationship is complicated. Like, yes, I was raised Catholic and I was raised in this church, but our experience wasn't that great. So we didn't attend church every Sunday. And if you ask me like what parish I belong to now, I don't. But I believe in service and works and expressing that upbringing through service. And I think more of us need to share that story. I know that my faith background and faith experience is not unique. There's millions of people that share that. And I think we can, if that is your story, share that story. And I think that Democrats can give people space to feel like they have a place, because I think right now it's either you are sort of a performative Christian, which is what I called out in the speech, or you don't get to claim it. And if you don't have a faith background, that's great too. Or if it's a different faith, or if you just believe in like going to yoga every week and centering yourself and giving back to others, that's wonderful too. So whatever your story is, talking about our values and where we come from and why we do this is going to give permission for a lot of other people to find themselves in this space.
I think it's so powerful that you talk about sharing your story, because a lot of people truly believe, I found that they think they don't have anything to bring to the table. But it's simply not true. You just need to show them how, like what they can do, and everyone can do something. And I think the best way is to say, like, we're all just normal people and we're pitching in. And so you don't have to, have a degree in political science. You don't have to, have worked on campaigns before. You can really just start where you are.
Well, and I think that is actually so much more powerful than an extraordinary thing, right? Like, you don't have to have a master's degree in public policy or have gone to Yale or any, like, people want to know that the person that represents them is like them and sees them and understands them. So like maybe you're just somebody who didn't even go to college, but you love organizing a, townwide yard sale, something that brings people together. You buy groceries at the same place everybody else does, and your kids go to the same school. Like, people want to see themselves in the person that represents them. I talk to a lot of people in my district about beer. I'm a huge craft beer fan. It's a big thing we do in Michigan. And football and we
went to the football. Are you a Michigan fan?
I'm a Notre Dame grad, so it's
okay.
not the most popular thing in this, but
wow.
I'm like, listen, go Irish. We all don't like Ohio State. We can unite around that. And we're done. Thank you for that.
I know. And that is it for today. Go Bucks.
Yeah, I love that. I like when I run into my constituents at like a restaurant or the grocery store. And I remember having a conversation with one of my constituents and them saying something to the effect of, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with my state rep. I didn't think that I could. And I'm like, you can talk to me. Like, I am just a regular
normal
person.
People. Yeah.
We shop at the same grocery store. We eat at the same restaurants. Our kids play on the same sports teams. Honestly, some of the things that you are concerned about or you're scared about or you have questions about, I might have those questions too. I'm still a human being. I don't have all the answers. I try my best to find the answers, and I try my best to be a really good representative. But I think part of being a representative is being in my community and not sitting on this hill looking down below.
Exactly.
I think so much of it is like, people are so happy when someone stands up and does the right thing. We don't really expect it from people. I mean, people want it and we want it, but we don't necessarily expect it. And I think the beauty of it is when you do it, or, someone else does the right thing, people can see, like, just a regular person doing, and they just did the right thing at the right moment. This is a question that we got from our Facebook group, is like, how do we regain the moral compass in our society? How do we get back to the place where we can just simply be civil to each other?
I mean, hopefully, a huge part of my optimism, and I swear I have it, is I hope COVID numbers stay low. I hope we can get back to in-person events and seeing each other, because it's such a different experience when you're at an event or a restaurant. Jasmine, as you were talking about, running into people in real life, it is not the horrible echo chambers that we get on Facebook and Twitter, where, it's an algorithm designed to feed you the same stuff that's just going to get you mad all the time. I got in trouble once because I told even people in Democratic circles, I don't watch cable news regularly. I subscribe to newspapers, and somebody said, why are you encouraging people to be uninformed? And like, it's just, everything is not breaking news. It's not a news alert. Like, go into your community and talk to each other. go to the grocery store,
Yes,
sign
there
up.
are different ways to be informed.
So that's my hope is,
oh, that's not
is
good.
we, I hope schools stay open, because that's a lot of where we saw the vitriol with parents and school board meetings and groups like Moms for Liberty forming to take advantage of the frustration of parents. Just get back out into your community in the real world and talk to your neighbors and be a person. We're people. We're not like Twitter avatars.
Well, Mallory, I think this is the perfect note to end on before we switch to one of my favorite parts of the interviews that we do. Right on the podcast, we have a tradition where we ask some lighter rapid fire questions to get to know our guests a little better. So are you ready to put a little pause on the big questions and have a little fun?
I am ready.
First question, your passionate speech went viral, but is there any other topic that you would give a speech about with the same level of passion?
Yes. The undercovered importance of underground punk and ska in New Jersey in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Whoa, very specific. You had that ready.
Yeah.
Sounds like a TED
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, and I used to go to ska shows at the King Buffet. It was a Chinese buffet that would shut down, and it was underage show. So you would pay $5 and they would just like move chairs out of the way and ska bands would play.
That's awesome. All right. Who would play you in the movie version of your life?
Somebody suggested Anne Hathaway this week, and that would be
I
amazing.
love Anne Hathaway.
Have you gotten any exciting new Twitter followers since all this happened? You have a lot more Twitter followers, but anyone super exciting?
I do have a lot more Twitter followers, which means that my notifications are a mess now. Jason Sudeikis started following me, and
Aww.
Ted Lasso was such a welcome respite over the
goodness,
past few
yes.
years. It was heartwarming, and we haven't seen anything like that in a long time. So I was really excited about that.
What was it like getting a phone call from President Biden?
Super embarrassing because I missed it. So I was putting my daughter to bed, and I didn't have my phone in the room, and my husband saw my phone ringing and didn't even pick it up. So he left a message, and I talked to him the next day. But it was just really wonderful. He's very funny. Like much funnier than I expected from what you see on TV. And
Wait,
things
what
like
did
that.
the message say?
It said, "Hi, this is Joe Biden, President Joe Biden," as if I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Oh, that
Oh,
Joe Biden.
you may have heard of me.
Oh,
that Joe.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
I got it. It just, said thank you. I saw your speech, and it was, unreal.
That is so
Wow.
cool. All right. What do you do for self-care?
Not enough, that's for sure. I really love yoga. There's a yoga studio in my town, and we are all so close that we go on retreats together. So instead of just like traveling to places and meeting people, like we travel as a little group, and I love them so much.
What is your favorite summertime activity?
My favorite summertime activity is blowing my entire annual budget on sunscreen.
Yep, same. Redheads Unite.
But ice cream, I am a huge, I could eat ice cream all day, every day. And we have so many phenomenal roadside ice cream stands in my district that I love going to. And my favorite one has extended their summer. They are now open from February 1st to November 30th in Michigan. So it's -20.
So, Mallory, another tradition we have here on the podcast is our toast to joy. Before we leave each week, we like to leave our listeners with a little something positive. Jasmine, do you want to start us off with your toast to joy?
My toast to joy this week is actually to the semester
Oh, yes.
coming to a close. Getting those grades turned in so I can get 5 days of I am not going to do, I'm probably still going to do work, but I won't have to do any work. I won't be obligated to do any work. And then I'll be right back in the classroom, teaching the next healthcare workers of the future. So that's my toast to joy.
I think this year was hard for students. I don't know, something about a full year of in person, and then they're like, okay, that was more exhausting than I thought.
Yes.
My toast to joy, that's a good one, Jasmine. So mine is actually, we had a pancake breakfast this weekend. I did actually lose all 3 of my children at some point. at this pancake breakfast. They're all fine. I found them all. What was really nice was my husband saw me talking to someone, so he kind of shooed the three of them off to be with my friend for a second. She was like, yeah, it's fine. And so it was really nice to have this community event where you're around so many people that know you, that moms just kind of like mom tag team without even like knowing it. And they're like, yeah, no problem. Your three kids will come with me for a few minutes, right? And I love this community event. It's so fun. It supports our schools, but also I love making parenting a community thing when you need it. And sometimes you just need someone to know where your kids are at for you.
I love that.
So mine is too, the pancake breakfast, community parenting.
I love community parenting as well. It's like, I need to do this thing. Can you now mine are older, but I do remember being like, where are my children? They're like, oh, they're sitting with so-and-so's mom. Great.
Best thing about
Perfect.
our neighborhood. Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
perfect.
My toast of joy is to some of our biggest podcast fans who usually listen to the podcast before I do. My good friends that I spent the weekend with, and they have been harassing me to have Mallory on the show. We did a girls' weekend, and I said, I am flying on the red eye. You'll all be happy to know I am going home, and we are going to interview her together. So actually, they're very excited about even the concept as well of all of us interviewing you. But we've talked a lot about friends and community and lots. But I always had friends, in the military spouses. But it's important to have friends who encourage you to do the right thing and who are there for you, and who are supportive of what you do. So I just encourage everyone to make those friendships. Mallory, can you tell us your toast of joy this week?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pivot and go off of what you just said. My toast of joy is I've had so many messages, not only from strangers, but from people in my life who've come out of the woodwork. I got one last night that said, I think we went to summer camp together in the late 90s.
Cute.
And just wanted to say how proud I am of you. And that it means so much. My toast of joy, and I think recommendation to everybody for an action to do this week is there's somebody in your life who you probably haven't talked to in a long time who you're proud of. Just let them know, like a text or a message. It has just bowled me over and refilled my cup to keep going. And we can all do that for other people.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
That's how it is with my students that go off and do amazing things, and they email me and they just just want to thank you for that one time in microbiology where you really pushed me, and now I'm this amazing neurosurgeon, and it's all because of you. And I'm like, oh, I feel so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Take the time to write those letters. Actually, one of my friends that I was with this past week, I told her how much it meant, just the handwritten notes that we got, and how that filled me at a time when I really needed it, and to read that and to see those. And I told her you really can't even quantify that, how special and how meaningful it is. And she told me now she makes an effort to write notes. And I highly recommend everyone do that as well. Well, we have a lot of advice for you. Actionable advice. Everyone can do something. Mallory, I just can't thank you enough for joining us today. It was so special and meaningful. And thank you to everyone who joined us in celebrating our 50th episode. Woohoo! What a milestone.
Celebration.
We will see you again next week on another episode of the Suburban Women Problem.